Yeah, blessed greetings. Good night, all listeners, viewers, world at large. Yeah, tonight we're here to talk about agriculture. Agriculture is something that has been the cornerstone, the building block for all societies, nation throughout history and even now. And for any country or developing nation that don't have agriculture lock, then they would probably find themselves depending on other people for their food security, which is really not a good thing. We are a small populated federation and this should be easy for us, but for some reason we have a lot of challenges. And one of the main things is that, a lot of people don't see agriculture as something, equal to like being a lawyer or a doctor and stuff like that, which is kind of crazy because the agriculture person, as well as the other skilled persons in society, are the builders of any society, the builders of any nation. And you would call the managers, people who come in after, would be like those same doctors and lawyers and insurance salespeople and what's not. And for some reason, we look up to that second layer as our leaders, our rulers, and what's not. And because of this, you find our political and so-called upper class people don't look on the skills, which include also agriculture, as really the real cornerstone and building block of any nation, and especially a developing nation and a federation like ours. So tonight, I have with me one of the brethren from the Gideon Force Organic Farm Cooperative. Is the manager and is Ras Bora. So Ras Bora, come forward.
Yes, I blessed. And I give thanks for having me here.
Yeah. So Ras Bora, he spent a lot of time, not even a lot of time. He spent all of his time basically around agriculture, and this is why we even have the Gideon Force Organic Farm, and the organic is actually one of the emphasis into the name of the cooperative, because we believe in organic. Because one of the things we have to realize is that while you might go to Rams, Best Buy, Value Mart, and you pick up your vegetables and your fruits and what's not, some of these stuff have been tested even by our local. We have a testing area there, and these food are sometimes, if not all the time, highly contaminated with chemicals. So it would appear as if you're eating healthy because you pick up stuff that should be healthy, but because they're so heavily contaminated that you're basically not eating healthy, and then they're full of carcinogens and different things and so on. So one of the things I would advise you when you go and buy your fruits and your vegetables, read whatever labels are there to be read and try to understand the codes that they do have in terms of what is organic and what is not organic. And also, of course, I would encourage that you buy your stuff from us because we're 100%
Yes,
organic.
yes, sir.
So we only into that. We just into 100% organic. So I actually have Rasborough with me, and I'm just ask him a couple of things. Like, for instance, how do you see Rasborough that the future of the youths them are coming up now? Do you think that based on what we're seeing happening in the school and in society, do you see a vibrant sector coming up, into the future for these youths?
Yes, I greetings and in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirits. And I give thanks to be here, and I give thanks to the elder for bringing me here with him, because he asked me to come, and it was my pleasure to always to chat with the elders. And I want to say bless up to our elders too, because even though we talk in agriculture, the elders them are who give us a lot of what we have and what we understand. And as the elders reason about the future for the youths now is to say now, how do we pass it on to our youths now when we become the elders? So what I think most of all is that I just pray that it happen, as the elders said, that we have a better future for agriculture, because the way things are going right now, as the elder was reasoning about the healthiness of the products, it's unfair the way we do agriculture. And I will say to farmers, we have a responsibility to make sure that what we do is clean and is pure in the eyes of the Father. So I think all like what we're doing at the Gideon Force, and I encourage other farmers to still to reach out to the youths them. And right now we at the Gideon Force, we are already linking with a primary school, and we hope that this link will trickle down to other schools, and we pray that other farmers also reach out to the schools in their communities and spend a time teaching the youths them. And as the elder was making his point about how many work you can get out of agriculture, it ain't just about working in the fields and maybe doing the actual planting of the food. It's so many different areas of employment from agriculture. You could be a teacher, you could be working in the ministry of agriculture, and you still could do a byproduct. It's so many ways to do it. So we hope that instead, as the elders say, we just have so many liars and so many police. Food is to have more farmers, and how do we have a safe food is to have more farmers doing it from a natural perspective, because that's the way our ancestors them would have passed it on to us, and that's the way Father gave it to us.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. Truth be told, that it was not even just passed on by our ancestors in the sense like just with grandparents, but we could go as far back as even the biblical sense of it. Because in the biblical sense of it, it was always about agriculture. And for those who are Bible readers, you'll know that the Messiah himself, in many of his parables, if not most of them, he likened the kingdom of heaven to something that had to do with agriculture, talking about the seed and so on, and the sower and different things and so on. So we know that agriculture is supposed to be the cornerstone of all things in society. Rasbora, in terms of food production and management, give us a rundown on how you see like where we at with that, like maybe based on your experience going to other people's farm, what you're hearing the politicians them saying, and so on.
And that's a good question, Elder, because I think that we the farmers have to realize that politicians have a work to do, and a lot of the time they will come to us with their ideas, and they will be there for a time and then they're out. But we the farmers have to be there. That's our life. So we have to understand that we have to set proper foundation, that even when we come elders, because we're going to come elders, and we're going to pass on the land that we're using is in a better situation for our youths. Not even have to be direct our children, but the next set of farmers. So what we do at the Gideon, for example, we introduce a lot of food cheese, as what you call integrated farming, integrated agriculture, where we're just studying about the vegetables, because over time our soil, for example, have to be improved. Because if the soil are not at its best quality to give us back nutrients, even though we eating all of this so-called, and you make a point earlier, you go to the supermarket and you buy healthy food, but is it really healthy? And you talk about testing, do we really getting back the minerals and the vitamins from these food as we supposed to? It don't really happen so. So what we did at the Gideon farm is to have a better soil structure, introduce a lot more food cheese. We see in these kind of storms that we're just seeing coming to our shores. We see in the climate, for example, there'll be some real hot days too, right? So what we're doing there is to find a way to have what you call like a diverse system, an eco-diverse system that protect all the situation of the elements while still improving its own self. And that's what you call a sustainable to say farm, where you don't have to always rely on us to be doing all of the heavy work. Over time, we're going to really, for example, Elder, you see much food sometimes we have is too much, and we don't have to do nothing to the mango cheese like during the course of the year, but when mango come to pick up, right? So yeah, we should plant more food cheese. That we want to be one of our to say promotion, and one of our main way. And you said, Elder, we next part of land that we want to set up, you said we're going to put in a lot more food cheese, right? And food cheese that maybe we have less of, and we want to improve on that kind of food. So you can't go wrong with food cheese, Elder.
Yeah, and I must add, one of the main points into the talk concerning climate change. I mean, the talk about climate change has been around for a while. It is, to me, a kind of, the name or the phrase itself to me is nonsensical in the sense, because the climate is always changing ever since the climate existed is always changing.
That's the meaning of weather.
Exactly. So there's no time the climate was static. So the fact that, but still though, we roll with the conversation if we're gonna help anything.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things is the talk about, well, the main thing is about carbon emission. Yeah. And the one of the ways, based on what we learn in school, is that having trees actually can be like the reverse effect of what they are calling climate change today. Definitely. So what Rasbora just spoke about in planting more fruit trees, this is something that we definitely should engage in more, even not only just for the sake of combating climate change, because as a small federation, small populated, two little islands, we really don't have a serious, if any, carbon footprint at all in terms of the global sense of it. But in terms of like things like monkeys, I mean, a lot of farmers, if any farmers looking at this right now, monkeys is always like the big talk, the big problem. And one of the things is that over time, as we get hurricanes and trees get old and so on, and then the sugar industry closed down and what's not. So you find the monkeys, them don't really have anything to eat in the hills. So they have to survive. They come down, they now live among us and destroying our stuff. So maybe if we put our heads together and decide, you know what, we need to just plant back the forest with fruit trees, and even plant a few cane fields around the island. So that way, it wouldn't be an immediate, fix. It take a little time, but for long term, I think that planting some more fruit trees, as Rasbora just said, would be really good to keep that pest away from people's produce. So the issue of monkeys was never hard to fix. But one of the things I realized with us as Caribbean people, we love issues. We love issues so much that we just keep them there and keep them there and keep them there and just call them issues, and as if we don't really want to solve the issues. We don't like to see things solved. As a matter of fact, I mean, this is beyond the point, but look, for instance, Old Road Bay. I lived there all my life. It was always a risk just to drive across Old Road Bay. And then the Old Road Bay got fixed. And then the people criticizing they can't see the seawater. Yeah. So seeing the seawater seemed to be more important than making sure that the road is safe to drive on. Yeah. So sometimes we got to question ourselves about some of the things that we do say, because that solved a big problem that was there for many years. And we're more concerned about seeing the seawater than actually looking at the fact that, we now safer across Old Road Bay. But back to the monkey issues. I don't know if it's something with us too, where, we do not like to listen to our own people. We seem to have this passion where bringing people from other countries, bringing foreigners to tell us things to do. That seems to be something that we seem to be so much in love with. And for most of our problems, we have people here, whether they have a degree or not a degree, we have people here who can deal with a lot of these problems that we are facing. We just need to listen to the people. We need to put some of the things to work to see if they will work. I mean, planting the fruit trees up in the hills is a no-brainer. That's a no-brainer. That actually must work. Because the thing about the monkeys is that they want something to eat. And they will continue to do what they do until, they either can't do it no more, or we don't have nothing to give them to eat. And then they would evolve and do what they have to. They might even start to eat meat. Even try to eat us too. But really and truly, we take simple things, things that are supposed to be simple, and we complicate them. So dealing with the monkey is supposed to be an easy thing. In some places, they develop what you call like feeding areas, where you put down, food for them. And once you have feeding areas, they may be close to some farms, the monkey them don't like the idea that you're trying to stone after them or setting dogs on them. So of course, if there's a feeding area where they can feed, and all the farmers them could come together and chip in that, you set up some feeding areas around the island so that they could just leave your food alone and so on. Now, we have never done it, so we don't know if it would work. But I've heard of cases in other places where they have some stuff like that doing, and it actually helps. So we could try some of these things to see if setting up feeding areas for the monkeys can actually help in some of these issues with the monkey them destroying our produce and what's not. But yeah, but back to you, Rasbora, like in these recent times, we seeing a lot of diseases coming around our trees, our food, the coconut, some mangoes, and just elaborate on this disease issue that we're facing, and maybe some things that can be done to maybe help alleviate some of these issues.
That's a good way to look at it, because even the citrus, look at citrus back in maybe the 80s in the old world, for example. We had a citrus market, old days.
And it's not there.
We had one of the best, maybe some of the best taste in citrus, different fruits, like our tangerine was good quality, our sweet orange, our lime.
And now we're importing all of that.
Yeah, and it's a seedless lime, which is not a healthy lime, right? So yeah, we can see that it's a fight. It look like it's a strategic fight to get rid of certain things from among us. The coconut section that will last for the last couple of years, and now what we see most is the sharp breed, is the main breed, and even though the sharp breed may be good for maybe drinking coconut water, but for the meat it's not a good meat. And our original coconut cheese, definitely we see that they stand more in hurricanes and them sort of stuff. So what we see in this fight, look, it could be a spiritual battle coming from the enemy, because when you look at some of these products, they're vital for us to have these as a part of our daily lives.
Right.
You check it out, the citrus, for what citrus represent in I, even though it's an acid, it's only acid when you use it with sugar. So you can see it's a high quality of alkaline. If you can drink a little bit of lime water every morning, it helps the immune system to be as strong as you want it to be. Losing that coconut water, they had a time where we were kind of low on coconut for some years. You just that the sharp breed now kind of bringing back a little bit of the water back up. Look at most of our coconut in sink is they're coming from overseas,
Right.
The J nut, most of our coconut water that's sell on the corners, they're coming from overseas. There's only a few people, maybe like Gideon, for example, maybe, because we had see having food cheese as a part of our sustainability. So we had planted so many coconut trees a few years back, because that's how Rastas think. Our way of thinking is we want our own things, because we want to be safe. That's the only way you're going to guarantee to have what you want to have. But this fight here seems a little bit systematic too, because how come all of a sudden we see all of these problems? You speak about the mango. We see a panel with the mango seed, where the mango seed having another something in the seed. When you open up the two catalyst on them, you can see something in there that is different, like a worm.
Okay.
So we've seen a decrease into a lot of these foods that is so fundamental, and we might see more foods being attacked as we go by. So even though you mentioned in this elder, in 2025, we don't know if the next 2 years it may be avocados, maybe the whole entirety of the mango population. Soursop, for example, can go in, because citrus really, you talk about sweet orange playing cricket with them as a youth. You can't even find one right now to make a juice. So this is a serious thing.
Because I have a tree and it's rattening down right now, and no matter how you try to keep it up, it's just going down. Now, do you think that the agriculture sector, in all of its glory, basically, is doing enough to investigate these issues and see what remedy we could have?
Well, I mean, I don't see these guys come around and give us the explanation for what is happening. I think I remember one thing, they say cut down all the citrus. I mean, you cut down all the citrus in St. and you don't have a plan to bring them back.
Right.
So we haven't heard a plan come back as yet. As you make a point, we usually more the imported limes, and the imported limes, they are seedless. So that's a problem altogether. So I think the department have to be more mindful of what's going on, and I just said have to listen to the farmers too.
Right.
Cause ain't like we don't speak about these things, elders. We make these points every now and again, and I think they themselves, they definitely the way of it. Cause I know they have citrus on one of them. They see the coconut situation, and I think they see other crops that we've been losing over time, and there is no real explanation, and the government owe us these sort of explanation.
Yeah, even those chemtrails that fly over our country, every week or every other week, even that we don't get any answers
Yeah,
as to
yeah,
why is there a chemtrail over our lands. We know chemtrails, it has been popular in large countries and started with agriculture actually, saying that
yeah,
they are helping with crops and what's not. And why is it over our country? I mean, who gave the permission?
yeah.
And when was it? When did it start? And so on. Now some people is thinking it's some kind of commercial jet flying over and it's laying out smoke, but clearly you could
Yeah,
see that we have
yeah.
chemtrails flying over saying it's navies. And so it appears as if we don't investigate anything. We just go along with it, and this is kind of how certain science does dumb us down to it, because it is about trying to explain something but don't fix it.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I'm sure they could tell you what the disease is that kill all the coconut trees,
Mm.
but they're not telling you, like, can we fix it, or do we replace all the coconut trees then with a different kind? And if so, was it some kind of strategic thing where they just wanted to get rid of ours so that we could purchase theirs? you know all these things need answers, and I don't know, maybe it's not important to those in office, which is kind of weird, because why would you want to be in office and these things are not important to you? Which these things are actually the cornerstone of our food security.
Yeah.
Because as long as, and the thing about diseases and like what we call so-called natural disasters like hurricanes and what's not, these are things that in some places they consider to be too much of a risk to invest too heavily into agriculture. So whatever seemed to be a risk is to how do we mitigate or minimize these risks, and then go ahead and invest the way we should invest into agriculture to make food security a reality. For it was a reality before this so-called modern time, and we now look like we prefer tourism. Every person
Yeah.
who come to speak to St. Kitts, Farrakhan and a few others come to speak to our people, our government officials and what's not, keep saying tourism is too much of a fragile situation. So why you try to make that your main source of revenue, your main source of income?
But Ella, and just to kind of big up your point a lot, look at the pandemic time in Ella when
Right.
tourist ship couldn't move based upon the situation of moving the disease to areas. What were fundamental were agriculture,
Yeah.
because everybody just want to make sure they get food when they go back home in the
Yeah.
home, and yeah, that's a big point. Ella. You got to, and I really we can see that the tourism idea is still kind of help put us to mean a little bit more shackles and bandage, because then these people could make certain treaties, certain decision, because we want these tourists come to our
Right.
shores. So
Right.
government have to play whatever
They're playing along.
yeah, they have to do it. They got a choice, because if they don't do it, then
Yeah.
the ships then won't come.
Yeah.
But a next point that I want to touch on when you're talking about diseases of trees, I'm looking at the diseases of the people too, because
Right.
what I'm looking at, when we have what you call like a review and planning meeting that we have every year to reflect on agriculture, where the government gonna bring certain stakeholders, bring certain agriculturalists to this, like a discussion. I think that we will talk about all the economics that agriculture could and maybe we make last year and what we could make this
Right.
year, but we never see maybe the head department giving us a document to show us about how our living standard being in St. Kitts,
Right.
what causing us to die, what is the main five, to say the first or the top five ways that we die in our federation. And when you look at it, the top five is because of how we eat.
How we
And, as you make your point about going to the supermarket and reading the labels, we have to eat more local.
Yeah.
We have to stick to a lot more of, go to the market where the farmers are in your community, source these people food.
But not just local, eh? Organic local.
Organic local, I know, but we
Put
ain't
on
got
the word.
ain't got much organic still local. I'm
Yeah.
there if you're away from it, but I agree with you,
Yeah.
it's organic local.
Yeah.
But and if you can't get organic local, then I guess, but make sure you still try to be local. And encourage the farmers to do it organically too.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that we deserve that as the customers, as the consumers. But
Yeah.
and I remember listening to the news and ZIZ saying that in the Caribbean, zinc is in the top 5 for to say have these sort of disease. And how could we be in the top
And
5?
it's so small.
And you're talking about the South Americas, you ain't
Yeah.
talking just Caribbean, you're talking about, you're including like Brazil
Right.
and these South American countries. And we're in the top 5, Ella.
That is terrible.
Yeah.
That is terrible. Yeah. You see, our people apparently don't demand a lot, because if the people were concerned, and as you mentioned, maybe this is a conversation we need to have with health, because this type of information about the number 1 killer or number 2 killer and them kind of things, and they mostly is non-communicable diseases. And if non-communicable diseases have to do some with what you consume, then what you consume should be something very, very important to deal with. And so, which mean things like non-organic food should be taxed. Should be taxed, and organic food be not taxed, because to me these are ways you could force people hand to go the organic way.
Definitely.
I mean, sometimes people like to talk about rights, and sometimes rights is not relevant when you're trying to at least protect people's health.
Sure.
It's not about no rights, it's about do we protect the people's health, those children coming up. I mean, instead of staying in their taste buds with KFC and McDonald's, why not keep their taste buds into their natural order of natural organic food? Because we are born, and this is what we do naturally. But the moment you spoil the taste bud of a child with these salts and sugars and fats and what's not, they become addicted to them, and you don't hear the health people speaking these things.
Yeah.
And that's because some of them are also addicted to these same things. But the children get addicted early, and that's why you would hear some parents saying, "Oh, my child don't like no veggies." It's not that. You don't spoil the child taste buds. The moment you start to hit them with the KFC, hit them with the McDonald's, hit them with them salty cankles and what's not, you find that this is what they're going to always want to taste, because they have now been addicted to these type of food. And therefore, these organic fruits and vegetables and what's not will always be secondary for them, and they will not want to have part with it. Because some of these food, unless you give them like something sweet, like they might like a mango or a banana, because they're sweet, because this is one of the things that spoil the taste bud in the first place. So sweet stuff, salty stuff. I don't know if there's any fruit or vegetable that is salty, but if there is, they probably would eat something like that as well. But I mean, there's some vegetables that just probably don't taste good at all. Like for me, I don't like Christophine, I don't like Godi, and I don't even like green papaya. But I eat them.
But them, you see, and them things you just call all them really similar, eh?
Yeah.
Check it out. I think because they have a more water content, so they have no taste.
Right. So these type of food, you have to learn how to prepare them.
And then you do a good dish with the papaya.
Of course,
So now you say you don't love green papaya when you do it that way?
Love it. I had to do it that way in order to love it.
Okay, yeah, and to me that's what I have to do, Ella.
Yeah.
We have to learn to make the food that don't naturally taste, proper bring them up to that taste.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's maybe the way that we will consume them.
Yeah.
So I think that's another thing that we at the Gideon we does,
Right.
I think we try to bring food in a way that they could be, good for the taste buds, because I just make a point that sweet and salt, I mean, that's something that we
It's addictive. Highly addictive. Yeah.
But another thing I want to touch on, I think that the education also that is bring to us from the department have to change up. I think that they allow us too much to stay in this zone based upon, for example, you cannot go to the department and you want to do organic farming and get everything organic. You understand?
Right.
You can't get, so they have to make sure that if you want to go over in this world here and you want to go to the zone or the method of farming, have these things too, and also bring it to the schools, bring it the education that they have for agriculture. They have to teach organic agriculture and nothing else. They can't tell us. Can you tell us about the chemical? You go to university and tell about the chemical, you must come back and use the chemical. But let us learn it naturally, teach us naturally. The department have to push the farmers them to be a little bit more natural, because we can't be ignorant, and you make a point, you know, at the end of the day, we still want to live, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
it's about life,
And
you know.
I think sometimes too is the fact that some of these persons who work in the agriculture sector, those who went to study and what's not, it all depends on what they went to study. And I guess sometimes the idea of using bad chemicals has been so normalized that they see it as nothing. So they
Yeah,
just continue to do that and even teach that, and just talk about, well, um, like what is high on the chart and what is low on the chart,
yeah,
instead
yeah,
of total elimination.
yeah,
You
definitely.
know, so we normalize a lot of things that is bad for us, and we pass that on to the youths, because the children gonna see what you do, listen to what you say, because they mimic us.
Yeah,
And we could see right now in the schools that things like agriculture, matter of fact, skills on a whole, are not being pushed and promoted. And these are the building blocks of our nation.
yeah,
Because without these skills, a matter of fact, as I was said to you all, if the garbage man decide they ain't picking up the garbage for a month,
yeah, yeah, problem.
we in a problem.
Yeah, man.
But yet we look down on the garbage man.
Yeah,
You know? I mean, we if people eat more healthy, then the doctor might have to go look at sidewalk.
of course.
If people live more peaceful, the criminal lawyers them go probably have to look at side job.
Yeah,
And I would suggest the side job be to go plant some food.
yeah,
You know?
definitely.
So agriculture can employ everyone. Maybe you could give me a rundown board of some of the jobs that might be available in the whole scheme of agriculture. I know personally that everything that is right now that is functioning in our society can link right back to agriculture, whether it
Yeah,
is marketing and what's not. Give me a rundown
yeah,
on some of
and
that.
you're right, Elder, because I mean, when you look at the earth itself, as the Moses say, the earth is the land and the fullness thereof, and as you talk about the Bible, when Father was creating things, he called it from all the earth, like everything come out of the earth, and we even as the human, the plants, the seed come out of the earth. Every material that we will use, because life itself, everything comes from the life that we have, and nothing that's going to be created. It can't come from nothing. It has to come from what existed. So as you make a point, everything that we have. So let me look at just the office work as a teacher. You could be a teacher you could be an agriculture teacher. You could be an engineer. You could definitely work in the Department of Agriculture. And then with the office space, you could be you could do a byproduct from the vegetable itself. We know bauxite and aluminum. These things come out of the earth, the tree that will make whatever paper or
Right.
board use a man to make chairs,
Yeah,
Elder.
definitely.
You know, even the material you use to make your chair, the coverings and all
Yeah.
these things. You know, even plastic come out of the earth based upon the chemical that they put together. So the computer, the technology, we hear the American and China have a conflict over certain kind of soil,
Right.
because this soil is used to make certain kind of material. So
Right.
as you make a point, Ella, everything, and you could chase it back wherever you're into, whatever you're dealing with. Agriculture have to link with it, and every human being have to eat. Every animal have to
You
eat.
got to eat. You got to
So
eat.
what you gonna do, Ella? Even if you're a doctor, no matter what work you're into, you have to eat.
Yeah.
You know, so this just enough food around for like maybe a month. You're making a point just about certain thing for a month.
Mm.
How out we run? How much people could really fast? And you should talk a little bit about fasting too, and the importance of fasting. When you're
Yeah.
talking about food, I think that
Yeah.
when we just talk about fast, maybe you could even
Yeah. Well, yeah, because the whole idea about fasting, I mean, some people would just talk about it, but do not actually execute it, and then, I guess some people are also so. Let me use the local word. We so raving sometimes that we don't want to not eat,
yeah.
and once you reach to the point, it show you that you have basically passed a certain threshold, and sometimes it's only when you get really sick and you have to fast, you have to be forced into that, then you're gonna realize the importance of it. But fasting actually helps to flush out your body from all kind of things, and also regulate different things that go on inside of your body, and so on and so on. We're no doctor, no expert on the internal organs, but some of it is also common sense.
Yeah,
You know, some of it is
definitely.
just common sense. I mean, if you drink coconut water and some water all day every day, then your urine just look clear and what's not, which means you're getting a good flush.
Yeah,
And then you could just do that for a little while and go back to your regular drinking and eating and what's not. But these are things that we should do occasionally, fast.
how
You know,
how often will you say to you somebody could or should do it?
I think everybody should fast at least 1 day a week at minimum, 1 day a week minimum, because you eat every day. You eat every day. So why you can't just take 1 day to fast, and then throughout other times, I mean, depending on what it is that going on with you, whether emotionally, mentally, physically, you could up that and fast from certain things. You don't have to do a complete fast to say you're not consuming anything, but you could fast from sugars,
Yeah,
fast from salts,
yeah,
fast from different stuff that that might be interfering with some of your health and your well-being and so on. You could take a little fast, yeah. But I want to list out some of those professions that can be had,
yeah.
because on the science and research and technology, you have agronomists. These are people who specialize in soil management and what's not. And you have soil scientists, study the composition and fertility management of soil. You have animal scientists and genet I don't even know the word, geneticists.
Yeah,
They research genetics, nutrition, reproduction, and welfare of livestock. You have plant pathologists, you have entomologists, you have agriculture engineer, food scientists, and so on. So and this is the science and research
yeah,
area,
yeah, yeah,
right? You have agribusiness, which involve, like I said, basically everything else in society. You have people who deal with sales, people who
mm,
deal with marketing. You
mm,
have economists, agriculture economists who study the movement of agriculture in a certain land
yes,
to see what is happening and so on. So all these are professions that our children could go and study and come back, well versed in these things, to either teach them or operate in the sector to make sure that this food security conversation become a reality. But we're not doing these things.
yeah,
And the one or two persons who went and maybe study one or two of these things, you don't even hear nothing about them really. They might be there trying to do whatever, and then sometimes they get fed up because, back to what we said earlier, they don't like listen. The government, our so-called leaders don't like listen the local people, unless maybe some friendly days and what's not.
yeah,
And so you have people here who I'm sure are versed in some of these things, but if you look at the state of agriculture in the federation, you'll know it's more of a show than a reality moving and thrusting toward food security. And it's kind of funny, almost comedic in some sense, that under the old leadership, like Bracha and them and so on, food security wasn't, it need not be a conversation.
yeah,
It was a lived
yeah,
reality.
yeah, man.
It was just food was secure. We had
Yeah,
food.
yeah, man.
You
That's
know,
so
we,
true.
no, no boat had to really come, except some people would get mad when the flower boat ain't reach. But that was basically it. But other stuff, and so we were good. We had a banana walk in Old Road,
Oh, we used to export things to
and we used
Elmato.
to export stuff to some of the
Yeah,
neighboring islands.
so
That
we had so much.
look how much banana we do import right now.
Yeah,
And back even the citrus stuff that you brought up, how much of those citrus things that we had a whole citrus walk in Old
yeah, we
Road.
had a whole one.
Yeah, and instead of it just being in Old Road, that should have expanded around the island. The banana walk could have expanded around the island, and so on. But to not pay attention to these things, I think is reckless.
Yeah, man.
I think is really out of order, that our leaders are not looking into the direction that to make sure that we are secure when it comes to food. I mean, COVID to me was a great teacher to show how important it is to have food security to be a reality. Because, for instance, the farmers, them, I mean, we see agriculture giving certain stuff and concessions and what's not, fencing and ground cover and different things and so on. I don't recall that these things were even necessary back in the days when food security was food security.
Yeah,
So it means that these things cannot fix the problem. The
yeah, man.
problem is bigger than fence wire and ground cover.
Yeah,
Some people ask for that because they want that to do whatever. But to me, those who are in the higher position to look at our agriculture sector have to realize that a gun cover and a fencing wire is not the fix. You know,
Well, what happened a lot in the agriculture department, and we have to be realistic, when the government change, these people who in this position, they're not farmers.
yes, and that's the
They're
thing.
just politicians. So they
Right.
come in and you know who the farmer have to
Yeah.
go with what I say. Instead of coming in here where you, that's why I say, with the farmers, we have to be the one to direct the way we want
Right.
farming to go. And maybe they need to put the department a little more to say privatize. So
Yeah.
government don't have too much of influence, and because what happened to a party lose, a party when they don't want your Agard no more to be there,
Right.
because you maybe ain't vote for this government
Right.
coming, even though you might be good for the job. So you go and somebody just come make, they may not know nothing about agriculture. So we have to start all the way back over from scratch.
And agriculture shouldn't be in politics, because this is our, this is food
it's-
security.
It's so
Politics
important.
need to come out of that.
Yeah.
You know, farmers need to be taken care of. Farmers need to be educated. Farmers themselves too also need to be dependable.
Yeah.
Because I think one of the main issues is that there are some farmers who are not, they're really not dependable.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe this is overtime practice where they really were not taken serious in the first place.
Mhm.
So they put farming become like a hustle. It gone into hustle mode than in the professional mode. And once it's in hustle mode, then the farmers don't realize things like contracts and these type of things are very important. You have a contract with a hotel, you have contracts with the supermarkets, with restaurants and different things and so on. If this was the thrust going forward,
Yeah.
where the idea is to secure contracts for the farmers, in getting their produce, so that way this 25 by 25 could be a reality if you push farmers into filling those areas for the supermarkets, for the hotels, for the restaurants, for the shops and what's not. Then importing all this amount of stuff could just dramatically cut back. But I don't think there's enough for us. What do you think?
And look at it, and next thing I think for that for what you just speak of to happen in terms of having that food availability, I think they got to take the farmers them on the serious note of helping them in terms of labor too.
Yes.
You can get all these people on park and beaches just cutting grass for the whole life. When you go back home with your grass and you're gonna eat grass.
We can't eat the grass.
You check it out, and what degree you will get. Let's say you're doing agriculture, you could learn and do your own
Yeah,
farm
with all these professions that can come out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I give a listing of this science and research area, but you have other areas in farming that you get all sorts of professions out of it. I mean, the fact that you mentioned the cutting of the grass, of course, they would tie that to say, well, we're beautifying the land for tourism. But boy, I telling you, I 57 years old. I don't remember a lot of people on the street cutting stuff and so on, but yet places like Greenland was always well kept.
Yeah.
So what used to keep them?
Yeah, it just.
You know what I mean? So you don't need 100 people cutting a small little area.
Yeah.
And I don't know
Ridiculous,
that to show that there is no real serious thrust to try to make agriculture to get food security to be a reality, because agriculture should be the umbrella sheltering and overshadowing everything, and everything stringed on under that and go out. And agriculture can employ basically everyone, whether full-time job or a part-time job. Agriculture can employ everyone in the country.
But you think farmers growing in you think that, and this is even though you're the one asking me this question, I'm just sharing you it still farming to me, farmers are not growing as fast as like taxi drivers are employed.
Right, because the people realize the thrust that government is.
Yeah.
They understand that tourism is the thing, so everybody buy a taxi bus. But what happened again? COVID was a teacher. What happened when the tourist boat don't come? Look, it's very easy for the tourist boat to not come. And then what the taxi driver's gonna eat the bus? We have a lot of taxi bus, a lot of these trucks and what's not, but we don't have funny enough, we don't have a lot of agriculture machinery.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of taxi transport.
Definitely.
We don't have a lot of agriculture machinery, and this is to help. And then the other problem we see is that over the years, the lands, some of the good lands that should have been used for agriculture. You're building homes.
Yeah.
You know, now saying it's so happened that we really just a small populated country, so really and truly we have not really used up the land, you know, in full. There's still land around that can be used for agriculture, but it would need develop, you know, whatever it takes to develop. And speaking of that, back to the whole organic process, uh, how does Gideon keep the farm organic?
Well, first of all, I mean, I think a diverse system is important to over time you have what you call it more less problems then because most farmers will use chemical because they will say, hey, I have to control the insects and pests that will attack my food, and that's the biggest problem in agriculture. They will say I have to use a herbivore to control the weeds in my farm because, for example, we talk about farmers don't have workers. A lot of these farmers they are one man army, right? So a few things that we try to do, having a diverse system, a diverse ecosystem. What you do for us, you bring a balance of all the different insects, right? Instead of going to try to kill all the caterpillars every season, you bring something to eat the caterpillars, right? And then, so that's what you call like more of a diverse ecosystem working, where the nature itself control the problem. And over time, for example, weeds again, if we could have our soil over time having in the amount of organic matter, it will produce less bacteria, more fungus, which gonna produce less weeds. You check it out because weeds only come more because you have too much of what you call the bacteria within that's the nutrient in the soil. Is more of that in the soil, and then there might be more the nitrogen. But when you have what you call a more fungi, a more soil with more fungi in it, it's a more balanced soil. So you're gonna have like you're gonna be more healthier and you're gonna have less weeds. So
Right.
what our mission is, and we're still a little way home from there, and we hope that farmers understand is important because we have to pass it down elders to our
Yeah.
children.
Yeah.
We can't give that. We can't give our children a mess. They're gonna say, well, what our parents been doing all of these years, you know. We have to be that when we give our children them the land, they have to be in a better,
Yeah.
productive state, you know.
Yeah.
So the way we're doing it, the less we use chemical is the more improved the soil get. The less we plow our land, is the better the soil get. Is the better the land get. So the more these guys use chemical, they're already killing more of the life around the environment. Nature gonna die. You know, you see butterflies in our farm, you see bees, you see all kind of
Yeah,
birds.
the bees. I've heard complaint about
A
we having a
decrease.
decrease in
Yeah,
bees
Ella,
because of
of
these
course,
other
Ella,
chemicals.
of course.
So
It's
why
a
is
decrease in everything gonna happen, you know.
so why is it agriculture is not forcibly promoting organic farming? Why is it the health department is not trying to encourage agriculture to put more effort, more money, more
Yeah.
more investment into organic farming, knowing that our everything is being threatened by these
Yeah,
chemicals,
man.
especially with such a small federation that we have here. I mean, if the bees them decreasing, and then next thing you know, the butterflies next, and then the disease them come and start wiping us out.
Yeah.
Then what we gonna do when something like COVID happen again?
But Ella, this I'm gonna tell you have this conversation is very simple. This is a serious it's some serious time ahead for us, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Health wise, you know, even though we're looking at wars in country, we may say but we ain't getting into no war, so we're safe, but
We're not safe.
our health issue is gonna be a major issue,
But
Elder.
we got war. We might have war just now on we borders, and next thing you know, ships might not be able to
Uh-huh.
come. You know.
You're not
But let me ask you this. I mean, since you've been around Gideon, have you ever encountered a local agronomist?
I think you have some, may know how high level they will be, but you have one two people that know a little bit of this about soil. Honestly, as the people I feel, but I think that the money come from foreign now. Most of the people who I see like have a level. Okay, for example, when we had the week of agriculture, the Virgin who come to us, you could see that he had a high level of
Yeah.
the way he shows certain things. You know,
Oh, the guy from St. Lucia? St. Lucia he was from?
yeah, but these are if the Taiwanese back then, the Taiwanese will bring in certain specialists. They will call them specialists, and they will show you a lot of the soil structure. But what happened is our elders know it, but they went to the university,
They went to the university.
so they can't come up and talk on no platform because they went to the university. They mightn't talk the English properly, but they know the fundamental there, you know.
I think we need a reset. I think the Federation, the Caribbean and the whole need a reset. I mean, there's a lot of things that goes on. I mean, we're probably not too far out from slavery, so the mental slavery still linger around, and we just believe we always have to connect with the slave masters to eat food, to get livelihoods. We send off with children them out there to study. Some of them don't come back. They build up another nation. Don't build up Saint Kitts. They stay on Facebook, criticize, congratulate weirdness.
Yeah.
You know, it's a whole lot. I mean, and all these people who go and stay out there, building up other countries, could have been building up Saint Kitts, could have been building up Nevis, but that don't happen, except a lot of words come back, and then when there's election, you see them flying in and voting and deciding who run your country,
Yeah.
and they don't live here. So
But a lot, and you talk about the Caribbean, and you say the Caribbean need to get like a reset. Look at how we trade among ourselves, Ella.
yeah, we don't even
We don't trade
we don't
among
even trade
ourselves.
among ourselves. So when
No.
I hear me here, or we trying to trade with Africa, I mean these things sound good, but let's be
Yeah.
real.
Yeah.
We don't even we don't look Stacia just out there.
Mm.
We don't even trade with Stacia. St. Martin just cross the borders.
Yeah.
there.
Most of the food we get come out of Miami.
Exactly. So
Majority.
we're not trading with our
One to the
neighbors.
Caribbean countries they're not producing other than St. Vincent and maybe Dominica.
Yeah.
We could be bringing in things and things could be going out.
Yeah, exactly.
You
And,
know?
and with St. Vincent and Dominica, we're not even trading, we are importing.
Yeah. Yeah, we just importing.
We just
don't-
importing.
We
We're
don't
not
export
necessarily
not
trading.
too much. You know, we could because okay, we gonna say we have maybe it's more like a mega meaning like a healthy soil.
Yeah.
So we just talk about our soil.
It's just a talk because we're not putting the soil to work. I mean, I think farmers need to be motivated. They need to be trained properly. We need to be trained in areas of well. One of the main thing is I don't think a lot of farmers understand their own economics, their own personal
Yeah.
economics. I mean, the days of you carry your tomato and you get your check right away. You have to understand that ain't how it really work nowadays. You know,
Yeah.
sometimes you have to just wait. Every week, every 2 weeks, every month, and you have to factor that into to your understanding of how it works. The fisherman, same thing. He want to bring his scale by the side of the road and sell the fish. That way back that thing that they're done with. You know, use the time, go out there, buy your fish. We have fisheries complex. Use them to your advantage. I mean, some people might say, well, even that is broken still because government run things don't work out so good a lot of times. We see what happened to Simako. That was like an excellent thing, but
Yeah.
because we don't so much believe in our own people, we don't invest in our people that much. We always prefer to invest in foreigners. I really do not understand. As much as I feel like I do try to research and everything, why we have this passion for foreigners. What about foreigners we love so much that we prefer to invest in them and not our own? I would love
Well,
to.
you don't say it earlier.
The
It's
slavery
a
mentality.
statement. You just said so earlier. It's a slave mentality where I don't know. It's just like master still.
Yeah.
Some of us, and even you see, and this is like indoctrinated from even our education because not going after agriculture.
Yeah.
Look at our history.
Agriculture
If-
have everything in it.
If
They-
you're
they
gonna
could
teach
never
us
go
our
off.
history, right? You're gonna teach us our history, the way they teach us our history.
Yeah.
Like it's just about the slave trade.
Yeah.
That alone is like a mental slave situation. You keep teaching the youth. All of we used to have to go to the school system and learn about that, you know.
Yeah.
So you know what you do, you bring you carry right back to slavery,
Yeah.
and it kind of cramp you a little.
Yeah.
It mess with us, you know. So the education system, our leaders, our government, to me, they really, I don't know, I wouldn't say they can't change it, but I feel like democracy set to put us how we are. Like,
Well, look at it this way. You see, the whole thing about that is that the system of education that we have is not necessary for us now because socially we have evolved, and in all kind of other ways, business wise, we have evolved. But the education system was suitable when we weren't yet evolved as a society and as a nation. So that system of education need to change
Yeah.
in order for it to benefit and make sense instead of coming out and saying, oh, my child get 13 subjects,
Yeah.
but yet cannot have a conversation,
Yeah.
a proper sensible conversation. My child got 20 subjects, but no proper conversation, and our people, I guess, and I don't really want to put it to say mothers, but mothers are the ones who just skip up these things a lot. It's like this competitive nature about, my child got more subject than your child, similar to the house curtain and them kind of things. And we need to done away with them nonsense there, because it's about the stability of our country, the how we go forward and how we help the youth them develop into the future prime minister, the future ministers of government and whatnot. And we're not preparing them. We're basically contaminating them with all sorts of nonsense. Like, for instance, you give them laptops when they don't even use the laptops for their schoolwork, and then you still argue for the fact, and then you hear the politicians then go back and forth, or we give laptops, or we give more than you, and all kind of a lot of strange conversations that these so-called big people who supposed to be running the country, keeping petty children kind of talk about who give the most laptops and who build the most house, and
But Ella, I guess maybe you're having this conversation and you come with this idea tonight to reason because of one thing to me, because you're spiritual, because listen, if you're in spiritual where you say, you just said here, I don't even know that will mean anything. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like you have to be a level of spiritual to understand and you make the point about what's going on. If you don't have that, everything seems okay.
Yeah, because it apparently it does seems okay to them, because you see they are a product of that broken system.
Yeah.
And they're also a product of that non-spiritual energy too, because if you really have the best, the best in your heart for your people, you would not be doing the things you're doing. You would not be somehow overshadowing your own people with foreigners. You wouldn't be there, ignoring your food security. You wouldn't be there ignoring the true development of your youths and them who should become not just professionals, but not just mold them in a school system that only basically train them to be compliant and politically divided. We need to produce critical thinkers. We need to have more engineers. We need to have more scientists. We need to have more of everything that can help the nation build better.
And His Majesty Haile Selassie first. I could recall when I read some of his documentary, he talked about the importance of agriculture for his country and every country.
Every country.
Right? And then when you're talking about, this is what he did, he didn't just let everybody go to do what they want, but he sent out one to do the things them that is more important for Ethiopia to be developed.
Right.
So, for what you're saying, as a man, we need to reset this whole system.
Yeah, we need a reset. We need a serious reset.
They have to think this, they have to think like, how Haile Selassie would have said things where you send out, as you're making your point, send people out to study these things that we read into and make sure they come back to the country and let us improve our country instead of just there with this back and forth politically and got us there like we don't know what we're doing. Because we know what we're doing in the area.
Yeah, we're supposed to. I mean, when it comes to, like, for instance, I remember a few years back, I went up by the area there for agriculture, and I was talking to one of the bigger heads them, so to speak, and wondering, like, where y'all don't find even some of those contracts and stuff for farmers and what's not. He tell me, look, we've been trying stuff like that. He said, but the farmers them kind of missed it, though, because you go and you tell the farmers them, okay, look, this particular hotel need okra. So you plant okra. Go tell the next farmer, you plant cucumber. Go tell the next farmer, you plant cabbage. Partner said, by the time you go back to the three farmers, them all of them got okra. Because the farmers them looking at each other, and this is a mentality from way back. It's like, oh, you get more out of the okra than me, so all them plant okra, and then the place flooded with okra, and then there's no market for the okra. We've been flooded the other day with watermelon.
Yeah. But you see, and it comes down to good leadership too, because, for example, sometimes you go to buy slip, sometimes they have all of something, sometimes I think they can manipulate the whole system too, based upon what they have available.
Yeah.
You check it out, so sometimes the government, and farmers do not trust the government, Elder. That's why farmers do not, if you come to me and tell me to do something and I don't do what you tell me to do, you got to be mean, you don't.
And maybe that's part of it too, that trust issue there.
Yeah.
And
by the change, I think that the government system and some of these virgin they are too political too, because based upon who you be, let's say maybe you back a certain party and a certain government in that could go negative for you.
Yeah.
And like you know, Ella, you is always like CEO of Gideon, and you know how challenging it be for us
Of
when a
course.
government change. And then a government change, we have this battle to be able to go to for maybe the first 2 3 years, and then maybe the
Yeah.
last year we see go back normal. Even though we don't even vote for nobody.
Yeah.
You
Well,
check it
well,
out.
well, let it be known, listeners, that we regularly have challenges with the government simply for one main reason. We're Rasta.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the main reason. We're Rasta. And Gideon Force Organic Farm Cooperative is probably one of the best, if not the best, farm or cooperative on the island. And, you know, instead of helping us to move to the next level, we always do have a lot, like we battling the system,
Yeah.
you know? We battling the system, and it shouldn't be like that. I think that even the whole idea, like for instance, you have a small business department, I think is, yeah. But what I realize is that the idea of small business and talking to small businesses and what's not don't seem to be of the substance that we need to move small business from small business to medium-sized business, and move the medium-sized business to big business. But instead we seem like we just want to keep all the small businesses as small business. And this goes also for the whole idea of farming and what's not, because a lot of the farmers them, they're not even farmers because they see it equal to being a minister of anything. But sometimes it's just for hustle. Sometimes they retire, they have nothing to do. So the real importance of it is not with them. They're just doing it for doing its sake, some of them. And that's why a lot of farmers are not really dependable. But I think that with proper resources, proper training and all these different things, I think our farmers could become more than dependable. And I think once our farmers become dependable and everything is shared the way they should be shared, and we make the necessary connections with our hotels, with our supermarkets, our restaurants and little shops and what's not, I think that that import bill with these farm produce could cut right down almost to zero.
Yeah.
The only thing that we should be purchasing is what we cannot grow here. But once we could grow it here, we should plant it here and make sure that this is what is filling up our hotels and our supermarkets, if the supermarkets still want to be a part of that. Because the supermarkets can cut out of selling produce if the farmers them set up themselves well enough,
Yeah.
that when people want to buy produce, you the farm like become a live supermarket where you just go on the farm and you get fresh pick
Yeah.
produce and you just move along. I think this is what we should be aiming for. That the farmers them would sell the produce, the supermarkets don't have to concentrate on that no more. The farmers then could take charge of all of that. Or if they don't want to do that, the supermarkets just purchase from us. We just should make sure everybody happy. The price is right, and then I can't even factor in greed, because that seems to be an area that we have to consider sometime. That our people sometimes behave a little greedy. Sometimes you're raising price for certain things and nothing raised,
Yeah.
nothing gone up, but somehow the price gone up. And these are
not
things to look at.
well, not the farmer's price, because as a farmer, the farmer's price at the last one to raise is just that when the farmer have the product,
You're right.
it
Not
costs
the farmer
nothing,
for real.
but
It's
family
who's
the
selling.
farmer and he gone
Yeah,
double cheap
you're
for the
right, you're
cost,
right.
so.
You're right.
And the next thing, I think the population of our federation, things that need, I think that we were supposed to be able to feed our population. And
Yes, we is, we small.
yeah, and you speak about cutting the import bill, now, and it also will cut the health problem too.
Got the health problem.
I mean, you can't go around with those two things. You're
Yeah.
gonna make more money and you're gonna
Yeah.
be healthy.
Yeah.
And I think that at the end of the day, most farmers do farming, I guess, for economics and at the same time to eat and to survive. So yeah, it's fundamental, and the environment to and a whole. We got to be, as spiritual kingsman and
Yeah.
woman, we have to be responsible for
Yeah.
the environment. You talk about the bees, you talk about the butterfly, the birds. Every living creature, we still have the role to make sure that they exist.
Yeah.
Well, I see a firefly elder. Well, I see one of them firefly in your area. Well,
That's a really good question. I have not seen a firefly for a very long time.
You ever hear about the helicopter? It's a kind of thing, a helicopter where we call
The last time I saw a firefly was at Gideon,
Mm-hmm.
I have not seen a firefly anywhere else since.
And there was a very important for your farm, because when they do the hunt in the night, that's
Yeah.
why you got the light there. You check it. So, and back in your days as a young boy, I should have was in the
And up
community.
and down the place.
Yeah, you know you got to go in the depths of the mountain to find them.
All over the place, fireflies all over
What
the
about
place.
the dragonfly? Dragonfly with these things we call like a helicopter.
Yeah,
When I see one of them
hardly
there.
see those, I don't
And then
recall.
there used to be, me sure that I remember going to school, there used to always be among,
Yeah.
you know.
Always
So
around.
these, we're losing not only the food chain that you were talking about earlier, we're losing also
Yeah.
our livelihood.
Yeah, some of those species are gone, are going.
They're going.
And this have to do with a lot of the introduction of these dangerous chemicals.
Yeah.
I don't understand why our people are really somehow not conscious of the fact that these chemicals are dangerous. And the fact that one, agriculture is not pushing against it to say it is bad, the health department, the whole ministry of health is not pushing against it. Instead they come out with tents and say they're testing for prostate and blood pressure and sugar and all kind of things. But they're pushing out tents to say, well, y'all need to eat better.
And you know why? Because these people who own these businesses, they give the government a little
Yeah.
money. They fund them with all kind of other ways. They fund them in all kind of other ways, elder. So it's like through the funding them, elder, they give them, you know, what they want, and so they hush them out, elder.
Yeah, well, and that is kind of weird because it's like the businesses have to play the two sides of the coin, because they don't know who's gonna be in there. But at the same time, government should be. To me, if you're gonna put yourself up to represent a people, you should really go represent the people.
Yeah, definitely.
And that seems to be a struggle with our politicians in the Caribbean. Representing the people don't seem to be a priority. Matter of fact, the only true nature of this so-called word that they use called democracy only exists when it is time to campaign and vote, and as soon as the voting is over, then it kicks into dictatorship. And we see that throughout the whole Caribbean. And we need a reset. We really, really need a reset. And COVID was should have been a kind of reset mentally, but we get caught up in other things, and it looked like our desires to do a lot of strange things was somehow coming out. Men beating up the women them home, and all kind of different things was happening when people home. Some of the fathers them were strangers to their own home because they don't normally be home.
Yeah.
When COVID demand that you got to stay home, the strange man in the house, the mother and the man got fight. Something wrong with us. We need a reset. And I think that for our well-being, mentally, spiritually, all the leaders, Bruce Lee and all the we need to have organic food in our system. We need to eat according to how the Bible prescribes it, because the Bible gave us a prescription, gave us a diet plan. We don't follow it. Matter of fact, the people even claim to be Christians find all kind of reason not to follow what the Bible says. Follow what they feel like, follow what man tell them, and don't follow that. And then when they suffer it, they still expect the same God who gave them the prescription to help them. People, we're wrapping up now. We're out of time. Yes, we will come back here and talk about agriculture again if you all want us to. So we're going to see what the feedback look like, and if anything, we'll be back here. And if there's any specific area that you all would like us to speak about, put that in the chat somewhere, and we'll get to that. So, Boy, you have any last words?
Well, I just want to say, in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Iris, I give thanks to be here tonight. And I will tell my people still, the way to go is to seek the Father always, to put the Father first, and everything shall be added. So, with all that we do, even though we're talking about food and the importance of food, we still have to say straight up, His Father gave you life, and you have to try to live your best, a righteous life as best as you can, and be a good brother's keeper. Bless up still to everybody still.
Yeah, well, we give thanks. We give thanks to be here, and we need to seek first the kingdom of the Most High, and as Boris said it perfectly, then everything else shall be added. This ain't our word. These are the words that come straight out of the book that we call the Bible. And we believe in that book. We believe in the whole idea of the creation. We believe that when the Messiah shared his parables and used agriculture as some of the examples, some of the analogies, we believe that all this is supposed to be insights for us to understand that we need to keep ourselves healthy, not just halfway along the way, but keep ourselves healthy. So we give thanks and we pray that somewhere along the way we might be able to do this again. So, blessed love.
Yeah, man. Yeah, thanks for bringing me on a mission, like I just said.